Hi, friends. Welcome to Lotus in the Light. My name is Jennifer. Um, it's funny because I've said it in the last couple videos, but like I basically have not had divine inspiration to record for the majority of the last like 2 months, doing very few videos, and now all of a sudden it's like off with a bang. The spirit's like, okay, it is time now to get back out there. So, I had a really cool day. I went and took a walk at a park near me that has been this particular path. The lake has been closed because they were doing some different things to it. It just reopened. I was excited to get back out there. I'm walking this path, and like one by one, these things start happening around me. And I should preface this by saying I forgot my earbud, because one of them got lost. So I have a singular earbud now, and it's the second time one has gotten lost. And I knew both times I knew it was spirit led. So I just accepted it and said, there's some reason why I'm not supposed to have two. I'm supposed to hear something at some point or whatever. So today I forgot even the one. So I'm like, well, I guess I definitely won't be listening to anything. I'll just be me and nature, right? And spirit. And it was a very interesting experience because right away I heard some things going on with some other people, and spirit was like speaking to me through that experience. And then I moved on, and then again another experience that spirit was speaking to me through, and then again it happened 4 times on this walk, 4 times. And so it literally felt like I was living a parable, and so I'm going to share it. I'll call it the parable of the park walker. And guess what, I'm a park walker. If you don't come from any kind of religious background, you might not be aware of the term parable, but it's essentially an illustration that gives an example of a message or meaning or some significant message through the experience of people and like everyday experiences, right? But it's a metaphoric story, basically, pointing to a greater message. And so this is my parable of the park walker. So I start the walk, and I come upon this woman who has these 2 young children who are riding scooters, and they're very young. I mean, like maybe 3 and 4, not even like 7 or 8, right? But they're on these scooters. And this path has some hills in it. And so they're going down this kind of this grade down. And she's like, stay to the right, make sure you slow down, so wait for me at the bottom. She's kind of giving them all the guidance and the instructions. And you could tell she was a little nervous, but not too nervous. Like she was maybe a little worried for them not to hurt themselves or someone else, but also not so worried. The fear wasn't so great that she was going to clip their wings and stop them from having the experience. And so I'm starting to pass her. um, she's going a little slower than I am, and I'm starting to pass her, and I'm just kind of chuckling at what's going on. And she's like, they're probably going to hurt themselves, but I guess they'll learn. She's like, I'm trying to keep them from hurting themselves, but she's like, they're probably going to crash and fall, and they'll probably learn. And I'm like, you know what? That's the only way any of us learn, right? Is through experience. And so good for her for allowing them to have that experience. But here's the beauty of it: she is allowing them to have the experience, but she also recognizes the level of their maturity and understanding of what could hurt them, right? So she's providing them with the necessary guidance, guardrails, and protections. Like they both were wearing helmets. She's giving them verbal instructions and things like that, right? To help keep them as safe as possible. But if she were trying to prevent anything bad from happening, she wouldn't let them do it at all, right? So she was allowing them that freedom. And that was another comment I made, because she said, I guess if they fall down and hurt themselves, they'll learn. And she's like, or they might not learn and they might do it again. And I said, yeah, I said, that's, at least they're experiencing the freedom, and that's what it's all about. And she's like, yes, it is. And so we had a good chuckle. I moved on, and it just, um, I moved on. I kept walking. They get out of sight because they start heading uphill. So I pass the kids on their scooters, right? And then back down the hill, and I'm around the corner. And then all of a sudden I can hear like the kid's scooter honking. I think it's honking, or maybe it was the brake or something. I was hearing a noise, and I knew it was the scooter. And I'm like, he's coming down the hill, one of them. And then all of a sudden I hear crying. But here's the beauty of it: I heard the crying, but I knew deep down, I said, that child is okay. That child's okay. The mother struck that perfect balance. And I looked back, but I couldn't see anything because it was around a bend. It didn't matter. I knew the mother had struck that perfect balance of um, free will, allowing them the experience with the guidance and protection that they needed, that was right for their level of maturity and understanding of the world and of life, right? It was beautiful. It played out beautifully. And it's like, yep, I know that kid got some bumps and bruises, might have even bled. But you know what? What an experience. What a memory of like the exhilaration of kind of going down that hill and being at the park with their sibling and their mom, and just all of it. It was wonderful. Um, and then I move on. And as I move on, I had this experience of um, I just all of a sudden recognized and remembered that I'm out in the sun with no sunscreen on. And I've done many videos about that where sunscreen has come up. So some of you may know my journey about that. But I realized that I did not do my usual like protecting myself in the white light. I usually do a white light of divine protection around myself to protect, to let in anything that's for my highest and best good and keep out anything that's not for my highest and best good. And I did not do, and I usually do that to protect myself from any harsh sun that could hurt my skin, that could hurt me, right? Um, but here's the thing. Here's what I did do when I first started out on my journey of walking. The first thing I did, because I woke up the last 2 days with some like um, stuffed up nose. And I know it's because we're like going in and out of this cold right now. We're at the beginning of spring. And I just went from like, it was like 17 degrees one day and 70 the next. And so my nose, my sinuses were like, what in the hell are you doing? So anyway, when I stepped into the park, and especially the last 2 days, I've woken up with the stuffy nose and I said, stepped into the park and I said, and I was reminding my body, you are safe. Everything in creation comes from the fabric of the same thing, the same God, the same divine source. We are all a product of love. Nothing is trying to hurt you. There's no need for histamines. There's no need for excessive mucus. There's no need for inflammation. My body can rest and relax knowing that it's at one with nature. We are one. And I said that to myself before, right when I started the walk. So then fast forward to, a little bit later when I realized I didn't put that energy protection from the sun around me. And I said that, but then at the same time that I had that realization, I said, wait a minute, I don't need to do that anymore because I have fully integrated into my belief that I am at one with nature and that it is not trying to hurt me. The sun wouldn't hurt me and I wouldn't hurt the sun because again, we are one. We come from the same source energy and we can live in unity. Um, and in this symbiotic relationship of giving each other what we need when we need it, right? And our energetic beings, our higher selves, our higher minds know what we need and when we need it and when we don't need it, and trusting that. But your belief system has to be there. And in the past, I've had these limiting beliefs that have allowed me to get burnt by the sun, not because the sun is bad or not because the sun can hurt me, but because there was something I needed to learn in it. And that limiting belief was what allowed components of the sun to get to me when I was in an energetic frequency that couldn't handle them, right? Sometimes the light is too bright. You've heard of people having near-death experiences, for example, that talk about like God's light is so bright, like you can't even look at it. It talks about it in the Bible, right? Moses at the burning bush, and it was like he had to turn away, he couldn't even look. It was so bright, right? So powerful. And so, but as we become more and more enlightened, as we gain more and more understanding, we can handle more, we can handle more, we can handle more. And so you see how pasty I am. But I took a walk outside in this. I was out there for, I'll have to go back and look, but more than an hour. I think I don't know how long that thing is around the lake, but it's more than a mile. And yet here I stand, right? And that walk around the lake is very little shade. So that was I was like, wow, you did it. I'm patting myself on the back. I'm like, you did it. You finally have integrated. You understand the belief that like nothing out there is trying to hurt you. It is your beliefs and your fears that make you susceptible to suffering. But when you're in perfect balance with the universe, we know what each other needs and we give it in the timing and in the dosage that we need it, right? So in perfect balance with that sun, the sun knew what components it had to offer that I needed in that time and space. And that's the beauty of living in unity and uh, living in unity with creation is that we symbiotically give exactly what each other needs and the timing it needs. And so that my point is that there's nothing in creation that's inherently bad. But just because something isn't bad doesn't mean we need all of it, everything, all the time, right? There's a time and place for us to receive the things that will help us and bring us peace and joy and love and all the fruit of the spirit. So anyway, so that was lesson number 2. And then I move on and then I'm still walking. And then all of a sudden I hear somebody walking so close behind me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this person's like right on my butt. They are clearly getting ready to pass me, except they never passed. It was like, I'm like, what is this, my shadow? And I kind of turn around and it's a woman and she's leisurely walking, but I can hear her footsteps, but she's walking at a leisurely pace. She's not like, on a mission, and I'm walking at a leisurely pace. That's why I was expecting her to pass me because most people are kind of like exercising and on a mission, and I was not. So when I realized, oh, she looks like she's leisurely walking too, so she's probably going to stay like right behind me. But I'm like, how did she even catch up to me or get to me? It was almost like she just appeared out of nowhere, right behind me. And I was like, She's so close, all up in my personal space. And this is what Spirit told me. Like, because in my mind, I'm like, just pass. I just wanted her to pass, take the lead. And then the message that Spirit brought to me was like, this is your higher mind. Like you have been operating from your thinking mind for 50 years and letting this be in the driver's seat. And that's your ego, right? Your egoic mind. And now you've learned how to tune into your higher mind, to your soul. Your soul has the most direct connection to God. Okay. And your soul knows what's best for you, knows how to guide and direct you, is never going to take away your free will. But if you tune in, they're going to partner with you to co-create such a beautiful life. And so, but when we operate from the thinking mind, we get caught up in the experiences of the thinking mind because the thinking mind isn't in tune to the divine wisdom, right? It's only like what we know, what we've experienced. So most of our responses from our thinking mind are trauma responses. That comes in the next part of the parable, actually. So anyway, but what I realized is like I have been trying over the last year and a half, to relinquish control from here, to my higher mind, to my heart. Um, and that's the journey that I've been on. And what Spirit was telling me is like your higher mind has now caught up and wants to pass. And it caught up in terms of like presence. Usually my higher mind was always the greater presence. When I would have an experience, the first thought I would have is a thought of this mind. Now my first thought is more often the thought of the higher mind. And so the higher mind is caught up in terms of its presence in my life and it wants to take the lead. And I kept waiting for this woman to pass. And Spirit said, the higher mind is not going to take the lead until you relinquish the lead and let her pass. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I said, it's time to step aside and let her take the lead. And so I stepped aside and I let this woman pass. And she passed, still going at her leisurely pace. And we went on, and I watched her continue at her leisurely pace as I was. Yet, despite the fact that she wasn't doing any kind of speed walking, she continued to pull away and gain greater distance. And I thought that was very interesting because she wasn't much taller than me. She might have even been my height. I don't know. But like, it wasn't like she had these extra long legs or her stride was greater or anything like that. So she's walking at this leisurely pace. She's not, doesn't have a great stride, much greater stride than me. She doesn't appear to be in any distress. She still looks leisurely, and I'm starting to get tired. I'm starting to get like my body's starting to feel like, oh, I need a break. Like I'm getting tired. Like even the slow leisurely pace is starting to become a chore. And for her, it didn't seem like it was. Like she was just still just moving along. And so Spirit was kind of showing me that like when we tap into our higher mind, everything we strive for in this life just becomes easy. It's like choosing to push a car instead of pressing the gas pedal, right? When we tune into Spirit, that's the gas pedal. Spirit is energy. Spirit is energy. And it's we're energy in totality, but Spirit is an element of our energy. So it's kind of like saying, I'm going to let the radio work. I'm going to let all these parts of my car work except the gas pedal. And I'm going to get out and push the car. Why would you do that? And so just a reminder that when we let Spirit lead, everything gets so much easier. I don't know how long I've been talking, but I'm rounding out to the last thing that um, uh, was revealed to me on this walk. So then walks on, and now I'm in the very last little stretch of the walk. And this family starts walking towards me and walks past me. And I catch a glimpse of the man's shirt. He's kind of in front, and his shirt says, "Father of some dumbass kids." I just chuckled to myself and I'm like, I wish the interaction would have been slower so I would have had a chance to like laugh and respond and say something to him about his shirt because it was so great. But like by the time my brain processed it, he was gone, right? And it said father of some dumbass kids. And as a parent, I appreciated that. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. And then behind him was like a woman that was probably his wife and this boy, a teenage boy. And I said, must be one of the dumbass kids. And so, but then Spirit reminded me or showed me, um, sometimes we think the kids are dumbasses, but they have the same wisdom we have. We are not wiser than the children. Um, and here's why. Because the children have access to the same wisdom that we have access to. Our real wisdom comes from within. It comes from our connection to the divine spirit because the divine spirit, God, holds the collection of all of our wisdom. Okay. My wisdom, your wisdom, our ancestors' wisdom. If you believe in past lives, your past life, the wisdom from your past lives. If you don't believe in that, that's fine. But your ancestors' wisdom, the generational wisdom, um, the wisdom of the universe, the wisdom of creation, just God's total wisdom, right? We all have access to that. And Spirit reminded me, we did not come here to earth to learn. We already know. We came here to experience. In fact, we came here to forget so that we could have the experience of remembering and finding our way back. So tapping into the wisdom is simply a matter of remembering, not of learning. And what often as parents, um, what often we are giving our children when we think we're giving them wisdom is we're giving them trauma responses. We're giving them the stories of I that happened to me and this is what happened and we don't want that to happen to you so you can't go do this or you should do or you're dumb for having this idea because I've seen this play out. You can't be a musician. Musicians can't survive. They don't make enough money. They'll never make it. You got to be practical. You got to think practical and go get a real job and or you can't go and jump out of airplanes because that's dangerous. There's this thing called gravity that will cause you to plummet to the earth, whatever. As parents, we fear for our children. We fear for the experiences, especially when they're making choices that we have similarly made, that you say, no, there was pain with that. There was suffering with that. But here's the deal. Circling back to kind of that very first experience on the walk. Our experiences themselves don't create suffering. Our beliefs about those experiences create suffering. So as a parent, the best thing we can offer our kids is not blocking their free will and telling them, no, you can't do these things. It is helping them experience them with the wisdom and protection that the universe has offered us. And so the wisdom comes from showing them how to tap within and trust their intuition. That's where the wisdom comes from. Wisdom from someone else. That isn't how it works. The knowing comes from deep within. And what happens is we tell them to not trust their intuition early on. When they say, oh, I want to do that, and you're like, no, that's a bad idea. You're teaching them not to trust their intuition. Their intuition is saying, you will enjoy this. This is something that you came to this earth to experience. Go enjoy this. And then your parents are telling you, no, you can't do that. You'll get hurt. This is bad. So you're taught from a very early age, even when your parents don't realize they're teaching it to you, the ways of the world, which is to turn off and ignore your intuition. And that turns off your access to the wisdom. So the best thing we can do is say, listen to your inner self. And as a parent who's a little bit more mature and has more experience, I'm also going to provide you with some guardrails the way the woman did by making them wear the helmet, even they may not have chosen that for themselves, or by making offering that advice of like, hey, stay to the right, and you don't want to run into somebody and things like that, giving them the guardrails, right? But allowing them to express the things that they feel called to do. Okay, I'm going to leave it right there because do I summarize? Summarizing, number one, we're here to experience, not to learn. We already know everything we need to know. We're here to experience. The experience can come in the form of joy or in the form of suffering, depending on what you believe about it. So don't get caught up in the fears. Nothing in this life can actually hurt you. Only the illusion of fear will allow you to believe it can hurt you. And if it does hurt you, it's been allowed to hurt you so that because the negative feeling of that, whether it's a negative emotion and an emotional hurt or physical hurt, like a sunburn, right? Or getting injured on a scooter, those hurts, those negative feelings are to show you that you are out of alignment with divine truth and your authentic self and your soul to help. So thank those experiences and say, I'm believing something that's not true there. That's got me on a frequency that's allowing me to receive these messages and I don't want to get hurt again, right? So anyway, um, uh, so those moments of fear are letting you know out of alignment. Be thankful for that. When you get into alignment, it starts by recognizing that we are all one. The universe is all one, and that unity reminds you that you don't have to fight anything. You don't have to fear anything. You do not have to fight anything. and and then remember where your wisdom comes from and trust that. And let's start moving away from this external all the external guidance, which is there. People are putting it out there to help you because their experience has said this is what works and is what doesn't work and blah, blah, blah. But that's their experience. Let that be theirs and honor it. There's nothing wrong with their experiences. Let your experience be yours. Go within for the wisdom. Okay, I'm going to close with a card. Wants to speak. I feel like because we were out in nature, good old spirit animal oracle, it's my fave. One of my faves. Actually, I've got some other ones here that are also really good, but this feels like what I'm being drawn to for this particular message. Yeah, I bought a couple new decks and I'm really excited about them, but it doesn't feel like what is being called for today. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. Otter spirit. So two popped out actually, but this was on top. Otter spirit, you are never alone. Okay, so I love this because what I actually get from this, the message is you are never alone, which is true. Spirit's always with you. And I think that's kind of summarizes the parable, right? Is that spirit is with us, doing this journey with us and wants to help us and guide us if we tune in. But what I love about otters, though, is they're super playful. They're just enjoying life. They don't worry for anything. It's not that they don't do anything. Like the animals in nature, they do things to provide for themselves. They build their nests or their dens. They go and find their food, right? But they don't worry. They do it with joy. They just do it as a natural part of who they are. And it's not work, and it's not painful, and it's not suffering, and it's not um, striving, because they don't strive for providence, right? Providence, is that the word? Provision. They don't strive for provision. Um, God just provides it, and they know it's going to be provided for. They just have to go get it, right? And so, same with you. Like everything you need is provided for. And so they do this all with this playful spirit, just like those kids, just riding the scooters, not worrying. I love it. And it's a 42. It breaks down to a 6. Um, and I'm noticing, like, I don't know if you can see in this, like the colors, like it has very like indigenous, like face paint kind of painting on their eyes, which I love because it's again about tapping into that ancient wisdom. And the more you tap into the wisdom of the divine, the more you realize you have nothing to worry about. And I just love it. And that's how otters live. They live like they have nothing to worry about. They live in beautiful community and communion with one another. They recognize the unity of the universe. They don't live in separation and isolation like we tend to put ourselves into separation, division, and isolation. And so, we have so much to learn from otter spirit. I just love it. And like I said, it's a 42, which breaks down to a 6. And 6 is really all about like you've come through the wrestling with what you believe. And on the back side of that are all these blessings you're ready to receive. I love it. Okay. Otter spirit, you're never alone. Like true friends, otters nurture each other and express their affection through touch. Actions such as holding hands and giving hugs offer reassurance that we are never really alone and that we're always cherished. Otter spirit has appeared to remind you to experience and express friendship in a tangible and even tactile way. Communicate with your voice, your facial expressions, your gestures, and your actions, letting your love express itself beyond just the words you speak. Otter Spirit's message is that presence matters. So remember to be fully present with those that you care about, helping them sense the love and affection and appreciation you have for them. Now is a time for a joyful celebration of the love in your life that expresses as friendship and companionship. I saw a lot of that on my walk today. Hug someone, touch their arm, or simply look into their eyes with your full attention, saying, I care and you matter. Make time for friendship. Otter Spirit promises that the moment you reach out, you will remember that you too have many who love and care about you. You're never alone and you're always loved. Um, Sorry, I'm just deciding whether this protection message, I don't think I feel called to read this. Yeah, so there it is. There you have it. Like the divine loving community that we are meant to live in is a lot of times we keep this from ourselves because of all these walls we've built up, because of these beliefs that we have, because of this need to protect ourselves. And I'm just daring you to step out and say, what if I don't need protection? What if I allow myself to be loved? I might get hurt, but I'll bounce back. Yeah, that's some divine truth peeking in, right? So I love that. Thank you for the otter spirit message. And then, dear spirit, here's what I'll say about dear spirit. Bring a gentle touch. I was getting ready to say, dear spirit is all about this gentle, loving, nurturing energy. So as you're going through whatever you're going through, as you're learning new lessons, as you're taking risks and putting yourself out there to challenge your beliefs, challenge the status quo, and start embracing some new ideas about this life, just be gentle with yourself. Just nurture and love yourself through it. Don't beat yourself up if you think you've made a mistake. Just be kind and gentle to yourself. That's what that message is offering. Okay, that's it. I love you all. Peace out. Thanks for listening to the parable of the park walker. Have a great one. Peace out.